All right, how's everyone doing this Saturday? Okay, so everybody who watched my video where I was over at Urban Legend, uh, it's about 45 minutes for me, but it's a great comic shop. I I trade him all my stuff, and again, as I'm thinning down my collection, he's the person I'm going to. He does great deals, gives great money. He also has great books. So I took a little bit of trade, rest in cash. Uh, so both went real well. Uh, my goal will be to work on thinning down again so that come, yeah, probably right when I'm off during Thanksgiving, I'll probably have a whole bunch of new set of books ready to go for him. I have 87 boxes left of short boxes, way too much for what I'm doing, so I'm working as I go and trying to see what I really need. Again, not in a terrible rush that I can't work a little bit at a time on each of them. So I've been really going heavier and harder on a lot of the animated stuff that I grew up with. It becomes very important to me to kind of do, so I've been kind of interested in doing it. Um, Now, as you see, I picked up this Marvel Treasury edition. This is the Giant Superhero Holiday Grab Bag. Um, really love that. Hulk sitting down there doing a little thing. This is out of 1975, so this is a great time period. Uh, Also, one I've always wanted, and he had them in there. He had a couple of them. This is like absolutely my favorite time right there. 1976 Marvel Treasury Special, Captain America Bicentennial Battles. Of course, we celebrated 200 years, but uh, it was such a great time in comic books. I think you have the DC doing the bicentennial banners across the top and stuff. Um, you know, it was just so much fun during that time. And again, big stuff that they did with all the changes in comics that were going on for the better. So, more pages, more stuff. And like I said, it was just a great time. Now, with that being said, these are the regular comics I worked on. Now, this first one is it's supposed to represent Detective Comics 27. Again, Tex Avery's Droopy, Dr. Droopinstein, and you can see the beautiful woman in the red dress being taken away by the wolf, the old classic car, the fog across. Such a neat depiction of that Detective Comics done this way. This is a three-parter that Dark Horse did. Actually, number 3 is what I also want. It actually has a Christmas-related cover I thought was really neat. So I still will grab number 2 and finish that whole thing. Picked up Harvey Comics Spotlight. This is number 1 of them. I thought that was neat. He'd set up his little, redneck raft as he did while they're over there rowing along. He's just chugging along with a pretty country girl in her little tube top and her shorts. This is only 4 issues. I have 3 of the 4, so I've only got 1 more to go, and I'll have that completely done. And then also picked up Dynamite number 5. Again, I grab these every chance I get. Now I've got 1, 2, 5 and something else. I think it's only 6 issues, I think, this ran, so it's not a long time that Marvel ran it. So I've got his first appearance in the Marvel Scooby-Doo one, and then I've got those. Now, this one I love. This is from 1961. This is Archie's Madhouse. Like, you got Jughead over there coming in, and he says, "I'm starved. Any one of you people know where I can get a good bite?" And then you see all the horror characters grinning because they know where he can get a good bite. It'll be them doing it. But if you want to see something funny, that one was done in 61. I think this one here is done in 63 or 4. And it does the exact same joke. They do not use, again, different art moved around the characters, different character asking the question, but he's asking the exact same question. So I thought that was kind of funny that they actually duplicate that question. Seen some FemForce ones there, but this is a mini one, like an ash can almost, but it does the timeline of the FemForce girls. There was more books there of the FemForce, but at the time I was just trying to focus on certain things, so I thought that would be a good one to grab right now. I do want to go back and eventually, hopefully he's got them again and I can finish filling in my run from that. Now this one I had not seen, but it seemed to be that they'd done the Saturday Morning Adventures. This is the Endless Summer one that they did, which I found to be kind of neat because, again, they do have a beach one that they did with it too and stuff on the different covers, but this is the cover they had that I could grab a hold of. Flare. Again, I was trying to work on some of these different kind of characters, but I was really trying to focus more on AC, so I bought it, but then I got a question whether I want to really keep it because of the fact that again, it goes off the hero graphics. I'm not sure I will. It was in the mix with all the AC comics. I am trying to collect the AC run, so I'll see. I'll probably look through it and just see if it looks interesting enough to make it worth it. Now, I picked up some Spider-Man. First, I picked up a nice grade of this. First appearance of White Rabbit. This is number 131 of the Marvel Team Up. And again, it was one of the ones I need. I am slowly whittling that down. Spider-Man is one of the ones I'm keeping in my collection. Both Spider-Man, The Spectacular Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Marvel Team Up, Spidey Super Stories, all of them stays in my collection. Spidey had a big impact for me in my collecting simply because the Electric Company showed Spidey Super Stories when I was a kid. So before I could, and my first comics given to me by my brother was a Marvel Team Up, without the cover in the back, but it was actually one of them that was important to me that way, as well as, actually 2 Marvel Team Ups he gave me. And of course, my very first one was the Justice League that he gave me, which is why the Justice League stays in my collection, number 113. And it was missing a ton of pages as well as front and back cover. So my first introduction was to all the Golden Age characters as well as the regular. But I also picked up this beauty, number 63. That is the lowest Amazing Spider-Man I have. So that one's out of 1968, same year I was born. So again, getting a hold of a 57-year-old book is pretty neat. The fact that it's a Spider-Man that goes back to his earlier years within that first, 10-year span is pretty cool. But as well as also this one. Now, even though it's got its damage and stuff, it still was a cool book to get a hold of. Again, this one's taken only a few months later. So, and it really, the key significance of this book is they really only showed us a John Romita cover. As an end result, he kind of was doing the covers for a lot of stuff at that time. Now, I also picked up some World's Finest. Now, I saw a number of 10-cent books, so I did pick those up because I picked up this beauty from 1960. Again, early Superman, early Superman, early Batman and Robin. Coming out of that Silver Age is a big deal, so that's the reason why I try to pick those up from World's Finest. Same thing with Brave and the Bold. Picked up this one. This one's got a little chipping on the back. It says this is number 117. Again, you got the Batwoman on it and stuff. Again, just earlier appearances of these characters in the Silver Age. Again, if you take 1959 is when a lot of that started. These would be only within the first, probably year of that time frame. Also, number 119. Got the Tiger Man. And the last one of those World's Finest was 120. Again, Batman didn't have the trademark insignia on there. And again, that was a big reason behind that insignia becoming yellow around it with the bat. I've heard people talk about the fact that it originally was something that could really be used by other people too much, but the actual yellow with the bat sign actually changed it to become a real true trademarked image. Now, I did pick up two Batman. One of them I realized I already had with his battle with Ra's al Ghul, which, again, Batman doesn't bother me as much if I pick up some. And grab those because I'm starting not to see the bottoms. There we go. And in that one, I did not have a little Poison Ivy makes an appearance in 339. Again, I'm really trying to work on all these from about 50 cent back and just as far back as I can take it and still, be able to feed myself and, everything. You ever notice the building? See how it's got all the green in between with the design of the building? It's got the building all around pretty much just creating a whole green environment. Now, this is one I needed for the upper part of my Brave and the Bold run. And this gets me one with Batman and the Creeper, number 178. There's a few more of these there, but I was working on this. This is, I think, 3 and 4 of the Batman Mystery. These are the smaller books with Scooby-Doo. Didn't originally know that they had these out. Never did see them anywhere. So I'm guessing they put them out at the same time maybe as the other. I don't know. I'd have to look closer into them. Same thing with that one. I love the mix of the two. Again, two major characters that are some of my favorites. Now, another series, I have only one book left to go. And I will be done with it. It was a animated series on TV. It's called Foofer. Foofer is a blue hound dog that basically befriends other little animals, little dogs, cats, everything, and they go on just adventures and stuff. It's kind of a neat cartoon. Star is one of those brands in which I'm trying to go through and collect all the different books which they created. If you ever watch, and I'll show you with this one, you have food for number 3. Again, I think there's only 6 or so of those, so I'm only missing number 1 I'll be working on. So, um, but I think at a certain point that the Star stuff was phasing out. Like they started it and then decided that they would just rebrand it back to Marvel. I really want to look into that because if you look, you can see some of the Star ones slowly turn into Marvel instead of seeing Star Comics. Even though I know Star Comics was a subsidiary of Marvel, it was just interesting to see it. Now, this is Archie Comics with the Hanna-Barbera Presents. It is number 2 with the Wacky Races. I love that cartoon. It was hilarious. I used to play a video game too a long time ago. It was a pretty fun video game. I hadn't played it in a long time. I can't even remember which system I was playing it on. But this series, relatively, people want more money for it than what it is. As you see, he only had $5 on that. Most of the ones I see, people online and stuff think that they got some kind of gold, and they're wanting to charge you $10-15 a book, if not more. And there's only one in that series that's the most expensive of them, which is the first appearance that I want. I do want the rest of these, but again, I'm willing to hold out and pay that kind of price other than the other. All right, now this is Tarzan from 1965. Now, Tarzan's one of the ones I want to keep in my stuff. Tarzan also was another one that influenced a lot of stuff with me. I own all 24 books with the Boris Vallejo and everything covers from the 70s. I have some of the earlier 60s Tarzan books of the 24. So, and I have card sets with some of the Tarzan stuff that I'm working on. So, really love the character of Tarzan. I think he's just, and again, in here I get an 8 to English dictionary. So you can really find out what Tarzan's saying over the time. But I finished Tarzan the Marvel series. I finished Tarzan the DC series. I'm now wanting to finish the Gold Key Whitman ones, and then after that, I will start focusing going down into the Dell. And I do know, because I think Charlton 66 Steve had showed them, somebody else did recently, there was like 4 by Charlton that they actually did, and then got in trouble for it and had to actually stop producing them. So, and speaking of Tarzan, my last book I picked up was Karak, Son of Tarzan. That's another one of that run. I am closing in on getting done with that. I do have the number 2 of that originally. I've got a number of earlier ones, but I'm missing number 1. So I will over time, though. I'd like to complete that because, again, connection to Tarzan, no different than stuff like John Carter, Warlord of Mars. I have that entire run from Marvel. I'd like to work on some of the other stuff. I love the pulp and pulp style characters anyway. So that's it. Now, all of this I picked up in trade. So none of it comes out of my pocket. It was just from the books I got rid of. Got a ton of extra cash with it, plus these. And this gives me a chance to kind of work on some of my runs without breaking the bank. And like I said, I'll I'll probably be trying to put together some more as we go. Had 2 more things coming in the mail, but this, like I said, that you see back behind this book here, back there, is all my books that I'm slowly going to have to go through. I eventually want to have them sitting to the side, ready to go. So when it's time for me to do it, I just load them up and take them off. And then that way my collection will be exactly where I want it to be. Or at least as close as you're ever going to get in life. Alright. Alright. I appreciate y'all watching. I appreciate all the thumbs up, likes, new followers. I appreciate you, those of you who actually watch not only the shorts, but also watch the real videos where you see some of the other stuff more in depth. So, with that being said, I'll talk to all y'all later.